A Mochi moment from Mark, who writes, I just want to thank you for making GLP-1s affordable. What would have been over $1,000 a month is just $99 a month with Mochi. Money shouldn't be a barrier to healthy weight. 3 months in, and I have smaller jeans and a bigger wallet. You're the best. Thanks, Mark. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Mark is a Mochi member compensated for his story.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan. 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan vanished from their rural Nova Scotia home on May 2, 2025. Their disappearance sparked an immediate and massive search effort involving hundreds of volunteer searchers, canine units, helicopters, drones, and specialized RCMP units meticulously combing miles of the dense, challenging terrain near Lansdowne Station. Despite these efforts, there have been no confirmed sightings of the kids, and it seems like the best evidence they have is a child-sized boot print and potentially a piece of a blanket belonging to one of the children. This is the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan. It's the morning of May 2nd, 2025 in rural Nova Scotia, Lansdowne Station in Pictou County to be exact. Malaya Brooks Murray and Daniel Martell are having what they've described as a lazy morning with their baby Meadow. She's 1. While there have been some conflicting statements, they say that they're basically just hanging out in bed, drifting in and out of sleep. Now, Malaya also has 2 children from a previous relationship who also live with them, 4-year-old Jack and 6-year-old Lilly. They do attend school at Salt Springs Elementary, but they've been sick. While Malaya and Daniel are in bed, they say that they can hear Jack in the kitchen, and Lilly seems to be kind of running between the bedroom and the kitchen as well. Unfortunately, the timeline is a bit unclear, but sometime around 9:30, Daniel begins to nod off. After about 20 minutes, he wakes up and sees Malaya asleep beside him, but he says that he realizes that their home was quiet, too quiet for a family with a 1, 4, and 6-year-old. Now, Meadow's fine, she's still right there by them. But Daniel says this is when he realizes that he can't hear Lilly or Jack playing anymore, so he gets out of bed to check on them. When he does, he sees that their sliding glass door was closed, but Lily's backpack and both her and Jack's boots were gone. Daniel says that from here, he immediately runs outside to look for them, but doesn't see them anywhere. At about 10 a.m., Malaya calls the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, to report her kids missing, while Daniel continues to look for them. Now, he doesn't really find anything other than these 2 footprints beside the home facing the road about 10 feet from the door. He told Global News, quote, I was ahead of the helicopters, ahead of the drones, screaming as loud as I can until my throat hurt, running through water that was up to my waist. He added, they hate being wet and cold, so they immediately would have come back into the house. The only 2 footprints are right beside the house facing the road, and that's it. End quote. Because the kids were believed to have left on their own, there was no Amber Alert issued, but the RCMP did understand the urgency and began looking for them immediately. And at 12:43 p.m., they did issue a vulnerable persons alert. This went out to cell phones in northeastern parts of Nova Scotia, including New Glasgow and Lansdowne Station. It explained that the kids were believed to have wandered away from their home. 6-year-old Lilly was described as being 4 feet tall and weighing 60 pounds. She has shoulder-length light brown hair with bangs, hazel eyes, and may have been wearing a pink Barbie top, pink pants, and pink rubber boots with a rainbow print. Her backpack is cream-colored with strawberries on it. Jack was described as being 3 feet 6 inches tall, weighing 40 pounds, with dark blonde hair and hazel eyes. They believe he was wearing a pull-up diaper, black Under Armour jogging pants, and blue rubber boots with dinosaurs on them. The next day, on May 3rd, a second alert was issued with the same information but to an expanded area. But immediately, this was an all-hands-on-deck situation that included multiple agencies. In addition to the RCMP, they also had the help of the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit, forensic investigators, and they utilized canine teams, helicopters, and drones with infrared technology. They also had the help of hundreds of volunteers from Ground Search and Rescue, help from the Civil Air Search and Rescue Association, Department of Natural Resources Air Services, the Nova Scotia Guard, and provincial and municipal forces from across Canada. I know it's a little exhausting to list all of these out, but I just want to convey the massive scale of this search for them. I say all hands on deck a lot, but this response was truly impressive. But also, because there were so many people on the scene, the RCMP asked the public to avoid the search area. However, they were encouraged to share information about the kids on social media. I also think it's important to note here that Lilly and Jack are members of the Sibeganeggity First Nation, one of Nova Scotia's largest Mi'kmaq communities. But just to be clear, the RCMP does have full jurisdiction over this case. This search for Lilly and Jack was nothing short of treacherous. This is an extremely rural area. Again, I feel like that's a word I use a lot, rural, but this is extremely, extremely isolated. It's also heavily wooded. And to make matters worse, this area in particular was extremely dense with thick brush and fallen trees from a 2022 hurricane, Hurricane Fiona. Searchers describe this area as almost impassable. They literally had to climb over or crawl under some of these trees. Search manager Amy Hansen told CTV News that the brush was so thick in some areas that searchers were close enough to physically touch fingertips but couldn't see each other. This was also, unfortunately, the height of tick season in Nova Scotia. So, of course, as difficult and dangerous as this was for the search parties comprised of adults, I can only imagine how difficult it would be for 2 children, especially ages 4 and 6, to be in this environment. It seems like it was truly a best-case scenario in terms of response, and a worst-case scenario for search conditions. But the full-scale search lasted for 6 days, and the search efforts as a whole continued for 10. Now, sources do differ here, but some of the sources say that the area was as large as 8.5 square kilometers, or just over 5 miles. Of course, they started with the home and searching every inch of that, even launching a drone to search a hatch area underneath the home. They expanded to the wooded area surrounding their home on Gairloch Road, and then expanded to outbuildings, nearby septic systems, culverts, mine shafts, and lakes. On May 8th and 9th, an RCMP underwater recovery team was launched to search the bodies of water near the home, but nothing was found. However, they did find what appears to be 2 pieces of crucial evidence in searches on land. On May 3rd, so the day after the kids went missing, searchers found a single boot print that they believe came from a child's boot. And nearby, they found what Daniel Martel says is a piece of Lily's blanket. Now, just to be clear, this is separate from the 2 prints Daniel Martel says he found beside his home facing the road. These were found near a pipeline trail over 1 kilometer or just over a half mile from the home, along that main road the home is located on, Gairloch Road. Amy Hansen said that while they can't confirm that the boot print belonged to either of the kids, she admitted that it was really the only thing they have to go on at this point. Now, these items are a hot topic of debate in this case. So just as a side note here, the RCMP did confirm the discovery of the boot print, but they declined to answer questions about what Daniel Martel says is a piece of Lily's blanket. Why they refuse to answer questions is really anyone's guess at this point. But they go all in on this boot print. They send canine units along with human tracking teams. They create a cast of the boot print and conduct a new grid search in the area. But despite this promising lead, nothing else was found related to Lilly or Jack. And on May 7th, the search was officially scaled back, as the RCMP announced that the probability of the kids surviving in those conditions was low. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Volunteers in law enforcement worked over 12,000 hours combined over the 10 days searching for the kids. They meticulously marked each area searched with pink and orange ribbons. Many of these searchers were injured or had to leave the search efforts due to the emotional toll it was taking on them. Now, there were also a few subsequent searches in the weeks after that initial 10-day search period, but again, there was just no sign of either Lilly or Jack. Of course, we know how these things go. While physical searches are being conducted, they're also conducting interviews, gathering evidence, and in this case, collecting hundreds of hours of video from the weeks leading up to their disappearance. This came really from the areas surrounding Lansdowne Station, specifically footage taken along Gairloch Road, focusing on 12 p.m. on April 28th to 12 p.m. on May 2nd. They also had dash cam footage. One neighbor, Melissa Scott, provided hours of video footage from her 7 trail cameras that dated back to 5 days before the kids went missing. They also obtained video from a store near Highland Square Mall in New Glasgow. The goal was to figure out which way the kids may have gone, and to also establish any timeline they could. So far, it doesn't look like any of the footage has helped the RCMP get any closer to finding Lilly and Jack, but they were able to establish somewhat of a timeline. Here's what we know. The last time they went to school was April 29th. There was no school on the 30th. On May 1st, they stay home sick from school, but they were seen in public that day with Daniel, Malaya, and baby Meadow. This has been confirmed by both eyewitness accounts and video surveillance from a store near Highland Square Mall in New Glasgow. So while some people have speculated that maybe the kids went missing before they were reported missing, possibly that being the reason they missed school, that doesn't appear to be the case. And I really am going to try to make a point to correct as much misinformation as I can in this episode, because rumors and speculation have been running wild in this case, to the point that the RCMP and the First Nation have publicly spoken out against it. Now, unfortunately, that really is where the timeline of the kids going missing ends. But of course, there is more to go over in this case. Just to address the elephant in the room, after such a vast search, investigators of course have to look at the family, or anyone else who might want to harm Lilly and Jack. Daniel Martell says that both kids didn't typically stray far from home. Them just up and leaving like this was highly unusual for them. Both Malaya and Daniel have stated in separate interviews that the sliding back door was nearly silent, and they can't hear it when it opens. However, according to reporting by CBC News, they also have a family dog that barks at absolutely everything. and for some reason, they didn't alert to the kids going out the door. Malaya specifically added that the kids were not the type to go outside alone, and that they were always accompanied by adults while doing so. I mean, these are small kids, 4 and 6, and there are miles of wooded area surrounding this home. It's a dangerous place for young children, but I think we know that not all kids are aware of the dangers around them. And I think it's fair to say that these kids were familiar with this area, and kids do wander away. I have told you countless stories in our segment of Hope featuring kids who wandered away and were later found. We know it happens. While I'm by no means on the side of attack the family and think that all their behavior is suspicious, to be fair to Lilly and Jack, we do have to look at all angles here. Could there have been some type of accident that's being covered up? Did one of them hurt the kids intentionally? We don't know. And at this point, the authorities don't either. What I can do is tell you what we know and what's been said by all parties. Now, I do think it's worth noting that this has caused a rift in this family. While it doesn't appear that Malaya and Daniel are married, they were certainly living together as a couple. But on May 3rd, just the day after the kids went missing, Malaya took their baby to a relative's house, and it appears that she actually left Daniel altogether. Daniel has also confirmed this split in interviews, saying that they haven't talked in weeks. However, before you get excited, it does not appear that Malaya has fled the country as some have speculated. She hasn't even left the province, just the family home to be with her mother's family. That's what we know. What we don't know is why this separation happened. Was it the stress, or did one party suspect the other of harming the kids? Again, we don't know. But there's no denying that all eyes are on these parents. Malaya hasn't spoken to the media much. Her mother told CBC News that they were instructed not to speak to the media, while the RCMP states that they told everyone involved to just be mindful of what they're sharing with the public. I also think it's important to note that Daniel Martel has said something similar, that he was asked to not provide updates in the case, but he has participated in many interviews. Here's Daniel in an interview with CBC News to discuss what happened that morning in his own words.
Malaya and the baby were asleep. Lily came in multiple times. I was not in deep sleep by any means. And then about 20 minutes passed, and then when I woke up, Malaya was right beside me. She was still asleep. And I said, I don't hear Lilly and Jack. I ran up in the woods to the kids. They have cabins up in the woods, which only took me like 30 seconds. I came right back down. She was on the phone with the RCMP.
This story just sounds odd.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do. And I see it every day online.
And here's Malaya in her own words.
What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911.
Polygraph tests were administered to both Daniel and Malaya. Daniel says he passed his, but he was not told if Malaya passed hers. Here's Daniel again speaking with CBC News about the suspicions against him and the polygraph test.
The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning. I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lilly and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you?
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
Daniel states that he's been fully cooperative in this investigation. And that does appear to be true, not only through his statements, but it has been confirmed by the RCMP. He says he was interrogated for 4 hours and told CBC News, quote, "They searched every rock, every root, everything. I've been giving them every detail, everything from my bank account statements to all the information that came off my Google Maps." End quote. The RCMP stated that they have interviewed 54 people in this case, and that all of them have been cooperative. They've also taken and searched both Malaya and Daniel's cell phones, along with numerous other items that the RCMP has not explained in detail. Now, many people have also wondered about Jack and Lily's biological father. Maybe he had some reason to take the kids. So let's dive into that. His name is Cody Sullivan. He and Malaya were in a relationship for about 3 years. But it became a bit rocky when Cody lost his construction job, his apartment, his vehicle, and moved in with his mother, Belinda Gray. Ultimately, Malaya left Cody. And according to statements from Belinda, she and her family told Malaya that they would support her no matter what. Malaya petitioned for full custody of the kids, and Cody didn't fight it. According to statements from his mother, he said that he essentially was done and walked away from the kids. However, Belinda remained present in the kids' lives, at least for a while. She describes Malaya as sweet and said that despite her fears that her relationship with Jack and Lily would change after the breakup, it didn't. She says Malaya would bring the kids by whenever she asked, but by the time the kids went missing, it had been about 1 year and 9 months since she last saw them. Like Daniel, Belinda has also been pretty vocal in the media. Here's part of an interview she gave to CBC News.
The mom of my grandson called me. We were in town. She asked if I heard the news. She sent me the article that was on Facebook showing the kids missing. I couldn't call Malaya yet, so I waited till we got home. And I called. Well, I didn't call her, I texted her. And she told me that, yes, that the kids were missing, that they've been missing since this morning. I was in a state of panic, shock. But in the back of my mind, I kept saying, well, they'll find them. I mean, I'm assuming that they'd find them. So I told her, well, we'll head out first thing in the morning and help with the search. It was around between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. A couple of cop cars pull into the driveway. The lights wake me up that I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I see the cars pull in, so I knew what it was. So they come inside. They only stood in the kitchen. They wanted me to wake Cody up, and they wanted to know when was the last time he had seen the kids, and that they were just making sure that the kids weren't here. And then they left. Saturday morning, me and my sister, and we met up with my daughter, and we started, well, I asked Malaya, I said, Malaya, I said, you know your kids. Nobody knows their kids like their mom. Where do your kids normally go to play out in the yard? What direction do they usually like to explore? And she said, well, they always play up in the little woods right on the side. I said, well, okay. I said, we'll start from that point and we'll work our way out. We had spoken to a search and rescue, and we weren't allowed on the other side because that's where they were searching at the time. So we just started combing through the woods up through there. We were gone for a couple of hours. I'm yelling for Lilly and Jack. We always called Jack Jackie Boy. And yeah, that went on for a few hours, but those woods, I started to feel that I can't see them being in the woods. There's trees everywhere. You literally have to climb over trees, climb under bushes. It is really, really thick. We come back out, and I went in to see Malaya again. I assumed she was in shock. She was very non-emotional. Very just flat, monotone. But Malaya's very soft-spoken anyway, that she's not usually excitable. I thought that's made her a really great mom. She was an excellent mom. She never raised her kid or voice at the kids. That it was always, now, Lily, what did Mommy say? And I used to think, now, if anybody's meant to be a mom, it was her.
Now, she does go on to say that after seeing the home the kids were living in, she felt like there was some type of change in Malaya. The house just wasn't as clean as Belinda remembers her keeping it. But she admits that she's not sure if that was due to so many people coming in and out of the house since the disappearance, or if it was like that all the time. Other than that, she speaks very highly of Malaya. Belinda and Cody were formally questioned by police about 3 weeks after the kids went missing. According to Belinda, Cody explained that he hadn't seen the kids in about 3 years, and he was upset that the RCMP was treating him as a potential suspect. But Belinda said that she understood why these interviews had to take place, and went even further to say that she wished that they'd done it earlier so they could move on to finding the kids. She also said that the RCMP did call Cody back to let him know that they were no longer considering him to have any possible involvement. So according to Belinda, Cody seems to have been cleared in this case. However, Belinda has stated that after helping in the searches and seeing the area, she does not believe that the kids simply wandered into the woods. She believes someone hurt them. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse, so I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
There were more searches for Lilly and Jack on June 1st and 2nd. They were still focused on the area around the family home on Gairloch Road and along the pipeline trail. About 75 volunteers came out to help, but nothing new was found. The next day, on June 3rd, they held a public candlelight vigil outside the RCMP detachment station in Stellarton to mark 1 month since the kids went missing. Daniel did attend this vigil. On June 9th, the RCMP made a statement that they are still committed to this case, but didn't have any updates to report. At this point in Jack and Lily's case, the RCMP says that they've received over 500 tips, and they are continuing to follow them. Officially, this is still a missing persons investigation. However, Jim Hoskins, a retired Halifax regional police officer and former major crime staff sergeant, is really saying the quiet part out loud. He's not officially a part of this case for the record, but he says, in his opinion, the case is being worked as a criminal investigation. Really, he says it's just common sense. He says that the only other option after all these searches didn't bring home Lilly and Jack is to work the case assuming that there's some type of foul play involved. But despite his title, that is just speculation, which I always feel a moral obligation to point out. According to the RCMP, in many statements, they say that there's no evidence to suggest that Lilly and Jack were abducted, and so far there have been no confirmed sightings of either child. And that's pretty much where the case is today. So what happened to Lilly and Jack Sullivan? Well, there's no evidence pointing to any of the adults in this situation, but we know that statistically, when a child goes missing, it's usually at the hands of someone they know. I do think the terrain in this situation is something we really have to keep in mind here. While there have been extensive searches, these are 2 small children who could truly be anywhere in all of that brush. Whether they wandered there themselves or were put there by someone else, we don't know. I mean, I think it's totally possible that someone who knew the area knew where to hide them so they wouldn't be found. But it's also possible that this is a case of an abduction by a stranger. I know that both Malaya and Daniel have said that it's not like the kids to wander away. But we know that kids do wander away from home all the time. They wander from their parents in public all the time. Kids are curious. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that for some reason they did wander out of their yard despite it being fenced. I mean, for all we know, they went out the front door. If the boot print found about half a mile away does belong to one of the kids, it would seem that they stuck close to the main road their home was on, Gairloch Road. It's possible that someone could have just driven by, saw them, picked them up, and who knows what from there. Or maybe a hunter or a hiker saw them in the brush and did something awful. I mean, maybe somebody drove them to that spot. Now, I really do think that one major point that hasn't been resolved in this case is figuring out if that piece of blanket really belonged to Lilly. Of course, it wouldn't tell us everything, but it would add another piece to this puzzle, and at least tell us that for some reason, the kids or just Lily's blanket made it about a half mile from home. I'm also really hoping that we'll find out if that boot print really was from one of the kids. I could honestly spend hours speculating the many possibilities of what may have happened here. I mean, think of all the outcomes you've seen in cases of missing children. Some have been lost to the elements, some killed at the hands of a trusted adult, taken by a stranger. I mean, even locked in some type of room or basement for years before they're found. Some kids have wandered away only to be found, sometimes unfortunately deceased, but sometimes they are found alive. In our segment of Hope, I just told you about a toddler who wandered away from home in Arizona and was found 7 miles away with a rancher's dog who wouldn't leave his side. I think this is just one of those cases where it's really easy to jump to conclusions because of how little has been found since the kids went missing. People naturally want to fill in those gaps, but the truth is, we just don't know what happened to them yet.
Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here.
Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
I want to end this episode by focusing on who Jack and Lily are. Of course, they are young, and this is a new case, so we don't know a lot about them. But Daniel Martell has described them as being best friends. Jack loves playing in the dirt and playing with bugs. And while Daniel described Lily as being a bit more, quote, girly, he said she would get right in the dirt with her brother and do the same. I also have a small snippet of an interview from their grandmother Belinda describing what they were like as babies.
Lily is, she was my little dream girl, that the first granddaughter. And I loved that she had the brown hair and she had a space between her teeth, which I had when I was a kid. So yeah, she was our little princess. Jack was such a sober, serious little baby that he didn't like to smile. You could tickle him and he would look at you ever so serious, like he was really studying you.
Which brings me right to our call to action. In addition to Lily and Jack's loved ones hurting, this community is also hurting. Hundreds of people have put forth efforts to try to find Lily and Jack, from helping in physical searches to sharing their flyer online, and even in one instance, a local poet, Chad Norman, writing a piece about them and the impact their disappearances had. Jack and Lily are deeply loved and missed by many. This is such a new case. And while the most critical hours have passed, this is still a critical time. There is hope that they or evidence leading to them can be recovered. Please share their case. As a reminder, Lilly and Jack Sullivan were last seen at about 10 a.m. on May 2nd, 2025, at their home in Lansdowne Station in Pictou County, Nova Scotia. Lilly is 4 feet tall and weighs 60 pounds. She has shoulder-length light brown hair with bangs, hazel eyes, and may have been wearing a pink Barbie top, pink pants, and pink rubber boots with a rainbow print. Her backpack is cream-colored with strawberries on it. Jack is 3 feet 6 inches tall, weighs 40 pounds, and has dark blonde hair and hazel eyes. They believe he was wearing a pull-up diaper, black Under Armour jogging pants, and blue rubber boots with dinosaurs on them. Anyone with information can call the Rewards for Major Unsolved Crimes Program at 1-888-710-9090. If you'd prefer to remain anonymous, you can call Crime Stoppers of Nova Scotia at 1-800-222-8477. As of recording this episode, there is a $150,000 reward for information leading to Lilly and Jack. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio door is open and our emotional support puppies, Heber and Popcorn, are in the room. Now, I don't have any updates on me, but I did want to draw your attention to something very exciting. If you guys remember, a while back, I did a 2-part series, I did 2 episodes on the case of Stephanie Wassilishin. If you guys remember, I've known her daughter, Nikki, for years. We, as we always say, we were in the trenches together, serving tables at TGI Friday in 20 years ago. It was a very long time ago. It makes me feel very old. But, we never discussed that we had, these unsolved crimes in our families. It wasn't until we reconnected on social media, just a few years ago, that we realized that we had this in common. So I covered the case, but long story short, she has launched her own podcast called Poppy Killed Mommy. Now, the reason it's called that is because after her mother was shot, when she and her sister were put into the police cruiser, she remembers her younger sister just saying, "Poppy killed mommy, Poppy killed mommy." It's this very visceral memory for her. And she has worked so hard. She built an entire studio in her house, literally, better than the studio I have here. She built it completely out. She got professional equipment, and she started making this podcast. Again, it's called Poppy Killed Mommy. You can listen to it anywhere you listen to podcasts, but I am going to play a short trailer for you right now of that podcast.
911, what's your emergency?
My mother's death was ruled a homicide. The man who called 911, he admitted he might have killed her.
I don't know.
You don't know who shot her?
She might have shot herself.
But the county attorney said there wasn't enough evidence. No trial, no charges, no justice. I'm Nikki. I'm the daughter of a murdered woman, and I'm done staying quiet. Join me for the launch of Poppy Killed Mommy, a true crime podcast premiering July 9th, because if the system won't fight for her, I will.
Now, again, the podcast is called Poppy Killed Mommy, and you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. And I really do encourage you guys, please support these families putting out these podcasts. These are mostly completely independent productions. They're not easy to make. They take a lot of time. And I just can tell you personally that when you have that support, it makes everything a lot better. It is a very traumatic process to go through, even under the best circumstances. Making productions like that is just like trauma on top of pain on top of trauma. But of course, the hope is, media pressure, media exposure, and some type of resolution. So please support her. And while we're talking about family member-led true crime, if you haven't yet, I'd also like to direct you to listen to Ice Cold Case by Madison McGee, who is trying to solve her father's murder. I'm not the only one out there, you guys. Again, I don't think any of these people are saying that these stories that they're telling, these productions that they're making are not biased, but I do believe it is the most intimate look you can get into these cases. But with all of that being said, let's move on to the case. Now, so many of you guys recommended this case to me, and once I started looking online, I knew I wanted to cover it. Not only, obviously, it's 2 small children that need to be found, which is like an instant, let's cover it, let's do it. But seeing the sheer amount of speculation online, I just wanted to create something that I believe is factual to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability, and really try to cut through some of the craziness, which I will get to. But first, let's talk about media discrepancies. There were not a ton in this case. Luckily, the Canadian media did a very good job. But again, when you search for information on this case, you get a lot of speculation. And I do just want to say again that the RCMP and First Nation leaders have really warned everybody and kind of begged at this point to stop with the misinformation and the rumors. I think that's why I was really strict in this episode of this is speculation, this is fact, and really trying to quell some of the more, popular rumors that I've seen out there. It really does remind me of the Summer Wells case, which I have covered if you're interested in listening to that, but I think it's so popular, I'm sure so many of you are familiar. And it's not like these rumors aren't justified. I think some of these rumors, people just want to fill in the gaps. I don't think that people are doing this maliciously, but I think it's important to stop and think about what this does for these cases. I think having these thoughts personally and between friends is one thing to discuss a case. I think it's a different thing when people are creating nonstop content and broadcasting that to hundreds, if not thousands of people who now are taking rumor and speculation as fact. I'll tell you guys, I literally cut out 2 pages from this script, 2 pages of me talking about the speculation and rumors. It really got me. I just couldn't, I can't with this case, but I did feel like it was a distraction, so I did cut it out. All right, rant over. Let's move on to the hero of this episode. I chose the community and the vast amount of agencies assisting in this search. I described it all in the episode. I mean, they really were the hearts behind these search efforts, and despite this treacherous terrain, they risked their lives literally to look for them. I mean, not even just the terrain, right, but tick season. Oh, I just think that everybody who helped, despite how perilous really that environment was, is just a hero. So that's why they all make the hero of this episode. Now let's move on to our segment of hope. This came from Mariah. Thank you, Mariah, for submitting this. And I am reading an article from Neil Riley on CBS News from July 2025, this month. The title reads, Mystery Woman Found Dead in New Hampshire Finally Identified After More Than 50 Years. The article reads, A woman found dead more than 50 years ago in the woods of Marlborough, New Hampshire has finally been identified. Now investigators want to know exactly what happened to Nancy Gail Erickson. It looks like she was unidentified for quite a while. She was found in a wooded area off Route 124 on April 16, 1974. They believe that she died in the late fall of 1973. Now, it looks like she was 21 when she disappeared, but she was born and raised in New York and then moved to Tampa, Florida to be with her mom and her siblings. She was working as a nurse in a hospital there, but apparently suddenly left the state in 1973 with only a duffel bag. And her siblings, they said that they thought that she just left because of the emotional toll of her nursing work. She was actually found not long after that. She was arrested in Vermont for stealing a car. And then on October 30th, 1973, she abruptly left her job and was never heard from again. The article says that authorities are now asking anyone who might have known Erickson to talk to them. They are looking to speak with former employees of the Battleboro Retreat, people who lived at the community house in 1973, students who attended Corning Community College in New York between 1971 and 1972, and staff members at Tampa General Hospital. Anyone with information is asked to call the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit tip line at 800-525-5555. But I think that this makes our segment of hope for obvious reasons. I feel like I always pick these cases, or you guys always send these to me, which I love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mariah. But, it being solved after 50 years is so amazing. It often feels like a lot of these departments just don't care very much about older cases. And maybe it's not caring, right? It's priority and it's resources, and they have to allocate most of what they have to newer cases because the probability of solving them is better. I understand there's dynamics behind it, but I think I just have a soft spot in my heart for these older cases that, have some type of resolution. And of course, this is not completely solved. There's not a complete resolution here. But I really hope that now her family has at least some more answers that'll hopefully lead to them getting, the full answers of what happened. And that's why it makes our segment of hope. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.